Hello, I'm Maestro Giunta, the music director and conductor of the Des Moines Symphony, welcoming you to today's DMSO Listening Room. Now, I think we can all agree that spring is now finally upon us. It's a time of the year that most Iowans look forward with great anticipation, since the winters can be long and brutal. But there's one big difference, in my opinion, this year that makes the welcoming of the warmth and sunshine even more exciting. The isolation caused by the year-long pandemic has afforded many of us time to reflect on our lives. Anticipating springtime seems even more celebratory this year and even more appreciated. Now, when I decided to include a chapter in the DMSO Listening Room about music inspired by springtime, I planned a couple days of preparation to research the usual culprits associated with spring. Schumann's Spring Symphony, Delius's on hearing the first Cuckoo in spring, and of course, Stravinsky's shocking 20th century epic, The Rite of Spring. But what I found was an endless amount of music, dating back more than 700 years, that caused me to take note how influential springtime has been to composers. I was so pleasantly surprised to find so much music that I decided to divide up the music in two chapters. The first music I found, inspired by spring, was by Francesco Landini, who lived from 1325 to 1397. He was a Florentine composer and poet, writing just before the Renaissance period started. He was interested in painting, but lost his sight at a young age due to smallpox, and this led him to music. He was an excellent organist, and his Ecco la Primavera is a joyful evocation of springtime. J.C.F. Fischer lived in Germany from 1656 to 1746. He composed music for organ, operas, and many instrumental works used for entertainment at aristocratic parties and other social occasions. His Journal of Spring, published in 1695, is a set of orchestral pieces all influenced by springtime. Franz Joseph Haydn wrote his Seasons in 1801, and it was very well received by the public. The work is filled with tone painting played by the relatively larger classical-sized orchestra. The overture quite vividly portrays winter turning to spring. Franz Schubert wrote a beautiful song, Im Frühling, in springtime, for voice and piano. It's a gorgeous and peaceful reflection of Schubert's imagination. Antonio Vivaldi is best known for his Four Seasons, which is performed by almost every violinist I know. The La Primavera movement is full of uplifting and joyful music celebrating this wonderful time of the year. The piece, composed in the 1720s, is brilliant and continues to be popular with string players as well as audiences all over the world. If you ever feel a little down in spirits, add this piece to your playlist. It's certain to cheer you up. Now, Beethoven also wrote two incredible pieces inspired by spring. Although his Violin Sonata No. 5 was not given the title of Spring Sonata until 3 years after he died, it reflects the lively and playful attitude of the season. I have no idea what Beethoven would have thought of adding a little title like this to his piece, but I suspect that even if he did like the idea, that he would never let anyone know he did. And then, his Pastoral Symphony, No. 6, an evocation of the simplicity and tranquility of country life. One of Beethoven's best works, the piece even has a spring thunderstorm that is vivid and electrifying. German composer and critic Robert Schumann wrote 4 symphonies that are dark and challenging for all orchestras. But there are some magnificent moments in them, including his first symphony, subtitled Spring. Although the title implies springtime to be the motive for inspiration, I believe his marriage to pianist Clara Wieck was equally responsible for his remarkable creativity. It's a piece full of joy and happiness, something that Schumann lacked in much of his life. In 1899, Russian composer Alexander Glozenov wrote The Seasons, a ballet in 4 scenes. The second tableau begins with a harp solo, which signifies the arrival of spring, and includes a landscape that's full of flowers with joyful dances, flower fairies, and enchanted birds. Norwegian composer Edvard Grieg wrote over 60 short piano pieces. To Spring is included in his lyric suite collection and could likely be his most famous piece, along with his glorious piano concerto. The harmonies are soulful and beautiful. The work gives the listener a glimpse into Grieg's springtime imagination. Viennese composer Johann Strauss Jr. is known as the Waltz King. He composed over 400 waltzes, polkas, and quadrilles during his lifetime, and has more statues erected in Vienna than Beethoven. His music was immensely popular with the public and continues to be to this day. His Frühlingsstimme, Voices of Spring, is an exuberant and effective portrayal of joyful and melodious spring sounds and moods. Another Norwegian composer, Christian Sindling, wrote his Frühlingsstraußen, The Rustle of Spring, for piano and later scored it for orchestra. It describes spring awakening with murmurs of moving notes coming alive. The harmonies have a specific Wagnerian sound to them. At one of our recent live stream concerts, on our Live from the Temple series, we performed English composer Frederick Delius's On Hearing the First Cuckoo in Spring. His brief piece is solemn and quiet, but through its mysterious and gentle melodies, depicts the most beautiful image of spring one can think of. The clarinet takes the sound of the distant cuckoo. The great French impressionist composer Claude Debussy wrote his Printemps in 1887. Debussy had just won the Prix de Rome, and he had moved to Rome. He complained about everything there to his friends in Paris, but he managed to write a beautiful piece. In his own words, he says, "I would like to express the slow and labored birth of beings and things in nature, their gradually blossoming and finally the joy of being born into some new life." The piece is in 2 brief movements, a prelude that portrays the gradual blossoming that Debussy describes, followed by a dance full of joy, celebrating a new life. Well, that's it for today's listening room. For more online content, go to our website, dmsymphony.org, and click on the DMSO at Home series of concerts, self-produced by our musicians from their homes to yours. And don't forget to click on the link right after this video to hear some of the music I just spoke about. Thanks so much for watching. Next time, part 2 of music inspired by springtime.